Okay, we're live again. Um, got a specific job I want to do today, but I'm going to quickly do a review of some of the things I've done over the weekend that I didn't stream. Because typically I don't stream on the weekends because that's when family's around more, and it's just easier for me to stream through the day, the weekdays. Um, I don't think I've done any changes to the snack bar, other than possibly, it's hard to remember what I've covered and what I haven't. Adding in, kind of like it's a built-in kitchen area within the wall. I just gave some, you know, simulation of doors. I might add some handles, but I'm thinking of like, in a restaurant where the doors kind of just push out and push in. Um, and of course, added the lighting. Um, I went ahead and finished installing the roof. I've added in all the glass pieces and some chandeliers for some extra lighting. Um, just enough to kind of light things up. I mean, as you can see, it's dark at the moment, so it needed a little bit of something. Um, I've added a few touches here. I'm not sure if I'm going to stick with this type of clock face. It's the Orin landing pad. I'm gonna see what the Ichthian one looks like and maybe some of the others just to get an idea. Um, Again, I've modified the lighting. I used to have I think it was the pool table light here. I went ahead and unified it with the others and just incorporated I believe it's the Exile chandelier. I haven't really done anything else too much into the lobby. I wanted to kind of keep it simple and roomy for guests going in and out without it being too crowded. As for the golf course itself, I finished installing all of these tee-off pads or whatever you might want to call them. I still would like to get a hold of one more of these. I keep postponing. I've got a notepad here with some of the things that I still need to get. Including an extra purple arch rock. I believe it comes from a challenge, and I think it's Grinvald or something. But I've installed lights. They don't really light up much, so it's kind of more symbolic than anything else. And I had a real hard time deciding on what kind of light. The Protostar work lamps, I'd actually really intended to use those. It would be, the work site lamp. It fits my theme the best. However, it doesn't give off any light whatsoever. It's non-functional in that respect. At least not that I noticed. I put it out several times just to make sure. Maybe it was just, kind of a bugginess about it, but I ended up going with a combination of the perimeter fence post and the Exile hanging lamp. I just combined those together to kind of make a lamp post of sorts. But I've installed one of these at every hole site, and in addition to that, a small bench for those that might be waiting for the others to tee off and do work the hole with their ball, and then as people take turns they can move on. I haven't really done any major changes as far as the course itself. I think it's pretty much how it was before. It's mostly I just was adding in details like the little pad and the little tee-off nodes and the lamps and benches. I'm not sure if I showed the excuse me, the tower last time. I didn't take any time to add any kind of special details in here. I just left it pretty rough on the inside because mainly you're just wanting to give your guests an opportunity to get a bird's eye view, like if someone wants to take some screenshots of folks out on the course, and just kind of get a good view of how everything looks. So I didn't really go into any kind of, I added the ProtoStar guy as kind of like a logo kind of thing, but I didn't really dress it up any more than that. Pop out here real quick. Again, this is all pretty much the same, just the addition of the lights. Nothing really new. I think I already added in the extra excavator, extractor, I think it's called. As I find new pieces or get a little inspiration as to how I can better do a particular haul, things may change up in that respect, but I think right now it's in a solid place where if I wanted to, if I had the downstairs, the bunker house ready, I would probably be comfortable with opening this up to the public, because I think it gives a good general idea of how it's supposed to work. I did a few modifications on the window here. I lowered the countertop. You can't tell it because it's still really tall compared to my character, but it was quite a bit higher. You can barely see the ProtoStar's nose. So I've lowered it a bit and brought the window down just a touch to kind of keep it in tune with how I have the ticket booths set up. But seeing as how I feel I'm kind of where I want to be in most of the plot, I went ahead and did some work in the front. So all of this has been what I've been working on through the weekend. I added in a couple of ground areas, and that's what we're going to be working on today. So I'm going to be setting up the flower beds. Excuse me. I feel like I swallowed a dust bunny. Anyway, I've went ahead and bordered it with some more of these Galera stone walls just to kind of match it up with the main structure. These things here are kind of out of place, but they're there for a reason. There's some stray material from another item sticking out, so I've had to cover it up in a clever way. And so I have it here and another one on the other side that's similar. This is supposed to simulate a road. Why I wanted a road here when you've got the teleporter coming in, I have no idea, but I just decided, hey, I'm going to have a road, and I put in a crosswalk. And this is supposed to be, my husband says it looks like a trash can, but it's supposed to be like a little mailbox thing. It's really where the holocrypt is located, but it seemed more out of place than this does, so I've covered it up and tried to disguise it a bit. Hopefully it's not too much of an eyesore amongst all the rest of this. Also, as you probably see, I've removed one of my palm trees. It seemed just kind of out of whack with it having a third one located around here. Maybe if I'd gotten my hands on another razor bush, I would have went ahead and extended it to a fourth to kind of make it match on either side. But since I never did, I just thought, well, it's better if we just kind of focus it right here at the entrance. It looks more balanced that way to me. So yeah, the road itself, I haven't decided if I'm going to double it or somehow kind of divide it up a bit, widen it and then put like a center line in, and that would mean I need to extend this a bit. But essentially, this is the new hover park pieces. I think it's the long one. Yeah, the hover park floor long. And then on top of that, I've put down some of the corrugated containers corrugated steel containers, 2 of those butted up against one another and turned in such a way that both the blue sides meet, to kind of give it the crosswalk look, the white, black kind of stuff going on. And then I've just thrown on some of those caution signs up for those that are crossing to, beware of any passing traffic. And of course, I've installed a parking lot, and I currently have what I feel is a fairly decent version of my golf cart kind of vehicle. I'm still playing with the idea of including a golf bag with some of the golf clubs sticking out of it, but I just haven't come across some ideas in my head about what items I might could use to simulate the bag and have it look, not just kind of like a metal one. It would need to be like some kind of a fabric looking material, or I would prefer it to be that way. But I tried to give it like it's got a logo, and I know this is an Exile rug, and that's probably more like an Exile insignia, but since we don't have any kind of we don't have a lot of Protostar symbol type of materials to use, this is my idea for having a company golf cart for the course. So yeah, that's about it. I've kept it pretty minimal. I didn't put like a light at every single parking spot. I didn't get too fancy on having the stripes for the way the cars can park in. I just kept it pretty basic. Because again, I was cautious about the idle limit, which happens to be at 749 of 1,000. So technically, I still have a lot to go. But now that I've installed these flower beds, that can get pretty crazy, I think. Especially if I'm using some smaller flowers and using them to fill up a lot of it. Or if I decide to build some kind of a pond or a structure there, which I haven't fully decided yet. Other than that, I think we're on the verge of being done here upstairs. I still have the bunker house to work on, which hasn't been touched per se, sort of. I've kind of snuck down there a couple of times and thrown out some ideas, just putting some test things together, but I'm still not fully sure what I'm going to do down there. So I'm kind of like stalling a little bit, because a lot of times when I do my plots, like I said, I used to work in private, so I would do a little bit above and then a little bit down below, give myself a break between the two and just kind of switch back and forth. And with doing this for the live stream, I've focused mostly, everything up above. And so it's been kind of rough, but, it's been an experience trying to do it in a way that people can understand where I'm coming from and why I make the choices I make. So anyway, I decided the front was just a little too, not bland or plain, because it's obviously a little unique to most places you'll come across, but I still wanted some extra color and stuff. So we're going to see about installing a flower bed. Now, I have no idea what exactly kind of plants I'm going to use. What I'm going to start off with is seeing what kind of trees and such I have. If I have like at least 2, then I can maybe mirror it. But I don't want to mirror it exactly, because obviously the shape even is different, just simply based because of how I set up the green to begin with. So it's not going to be an exact duplicate on either side, which is okay. I'm very okay with it having not identical. But I do want to keep it like, if I'm using primarily fluorescent plants on one side, I'm going to carry that theme over. It may not be 3 of these and 2 of those and 1 of this, but I want the general theme to be similar. So I'm going to start off with looking at what kind of trees I have, because I don't really do much gardening in real life, but I would think that you would want your tall items like in the back, and then as you work forward to the edge of the bed, then you'll want your shorter things. That way, as you're looking out across, nothing is hiding what's behind it. So I'm going to start off from the back and work my way forward. So I'm going to see what kind of trees I've got, and if I can get a hold of at least two, I may make those similar, at least that I have a focal point on each side. But I want something that would kind of, I don't know what would exactly be considered protostarish as far as landscaping goes. I don't really want to get too I really don't know what I'm gonna do. Just I'll know it when I see it, I guess, is how I approach it. No, the spin the tree isn't too bad. Kind of generic. It doesn't seem like I'm gonna throw it out. Just get it out there for an idea, or maybe it's a group instead. That looks wrong. Yeah. We'll see what the housing vendor has. That's too expensive, and that's not too bad. Mike could work with the olive tree. Okay, do go with some of the really new and bizarre looking plants. I thought about creating some of my own, like I did with these trees here, but I think that would get kind of a little above and beyond. 25,000 for that. Pretty, but it's pricey. I think we'll see how just the cluster of three looks, but I don't want them that tall. So let's see. I'm just gonna push this one to the side for now, out of the way. I may come back to adding in some extra loose ones, but maybe I want them that big, but just not that tall. Maybe it's just a cluster of these trees here. And I really don't know if I want to like just full on with plants or how I want to do. Because like on this side, there was some of the orange floor sticking through in this corner. That's why these stones are here. So maybe I have to kind of throw in some of these stones over here, not necessarily in the same location, but to give it a kind of a uniform, but not mirrored uniform, if that makes sense. Let's see what scale are these. 55. This is gonna be a lot of hit and miss because I'm very unimaginative when it comes to landscaping. Like this, I just have no. See, like there's some of that showing. I may end up putting a rock there. I don't know if I like that or not. Put that back for now. I'm gonna go ahead and put some of those obsidian rocks out though. I had a bunch of these left over from my last build. I deleted a ton, but um, I kept some just in case I might want to use them. And I'm probably glad I did, because I've put them out in a few parts. But I probably kept way more than let's see. Always want to rotate and change it up, because you don't want it to look just like the other one is. That one's further. Turn it over. Let's see, what kind of plants do I have? No mushrooms, don't want no mushrooms. See, that could be handy, that it's already put together and you can just sink it down and make like a row of them, border the one side. I've done that before, rather than have to put, individual plants. I've seen some really nice gardens, and I've made a few I've tried to put together for myself that weren't too horrible, but it's just it's time consuming to put them down. Now I have like a gargantuan amount of these. This is leftovers from my previous build. I used it as ivy on the tower. So I may throw these out as my short plants in the front. Just slapping them down. I'm going to go back in afterward and kind of mix them around, rotate them up so that they aren't, they're not too robotic looking. I want it to kind of look natural, but it doesn't have to be like perfect. Here I started with 80 something and already it's coming down into the 70s, so it fills up fast with how many you use. Oh, that one got turned around. I didn't click on the grass. Now I could, I guess I'll want that similar, it doesn't have to, even though the pattern of the rock is different, I can still line this up with similar plants. I thought about, trying to build a nice little waterfall or a pond of some sort. But it's a challenge, and with creating your own water, and I've seen a lot of people put some nice ones together, and I don't think I could outdo that in any way. So I try something else. Don't have to have water on every plot I make. Had the waterfall last time, so we can do without water this time. I mean, I got the one little water hazard in the back. That's plenty of water. I'm not keeping track of how many I've put down on each side. It's just gonna kind of take it as it goes. Maybe I enlarge them and sink them and make the band a little wider. There we have the first kind of like little rainbow flowers. Let's see, maybe do I need to go all the way out to that? No, I guess I should. Put some of those down here. Maybe about 3. Okay, so now I'm going to come in a little closer and see if I want to size it up and then bring it down. Then I lose that nice little curly cute ground stuff, so probably not. I'm just going to kind of start coming in and filling it in a little better. It's okay if some of the grass below is showing through, but maybe I don't want large gaps. And you know, how close is it to the edge here? Some of it kind of coming over the top or that kind of thing. And just getting it so that it kind of meshes well. I may end up needing more as I get to the end, but this is the best way I know how to just kind of stick it in without it looking like it was just planted repeatedly over and over the same stuff. Swirling it here and there. You know, you could, if you wanted, rotate like 3 or 4 different ways and then duplicate it every other ones or something to spread it out to get it even more. But we'll just kind of do it this way. You know, a little more time consuming and whatnot, but I need to move this one straight to the grass. Oh, he looks so. See how, you know, not all the flowers are turned the same. Just gives a little more natural feeling, even though you've got it planted like, you know, you've seen those gardens where it's like row after row and it's mechanical looking, like a machine planted it. And this kind of gets it away from that. Looks like one that's been planted a while back and it's just kind of, you know, flourished a little bit on it. So. Whoops, wrong one. And it's one of those things you just adjust, and then once you got it like you want, then you come back out and you take another look at it. And it looks a little, you know, here it's like you can almost see flower, 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 and then another row of the same ones. And this is much more uneven, a little more natural looking, I guess. Excuse me. So we'll continue with this and kind of see how it looks. I'm a little distracted. I'm kind of. My son went to Paris this week with some classmates from school. So I'm constantly expecting to hear my text to my phone go off because I've told him, you know, please keep me up to date when you make it to the hotel and all that. But we were up like, well, I was up at like 5 a.m. this morning. Checking the weather and that kind of thing. Being the mom, wanting to know how, you know, what kind of weather he was going to be facing. A lot of people probably, when I talk about him, they think, wow, he must be like, early teens or something. He's going to be 20 in December, so he's more than capable of taking care of himself. But uh, once a mom, always a mom. I don't care if he's, in his 50s. I'm still going to be fretting about certain things. That's just what moms do. Anyone that's a mom will know what I'm talking about. Um, it's just like yesterday, I spent some time uh, putting together some pizza pockets for him to take on his trip, on his train trip, because I think they were going to be on there for at least an hour or something, maybe more. I don't know all the details, but yeah, they're going to Paris to. He's taking garden architecture. In fact, I should have him do this for me. In school, and they're going to go tour I think it's called the Versailles, some kind of really fancy gardens there. And he acts like he's not too excited about it, but I know he likes, usually when we go, just even driving to the store, he'll comment on people's yards, things that, he would do differently, or that looks nice. Uh, so I'm sure he will enjoy it. He just doesn't want to sound like he will. He's one of those, oh, I'm too cool for school kind of things. Okay, so let's take another look on any funny looking gaps. I mean, you're gonna have some gaps, but you want to kind of not have like huge ones. Like, I'm not too sure I like pretty gappy. So I'll probably add another one inside that little corner there. And maybe here too. Because sometimes the way you turn it, it looks a little less full. Anyway, he's going with his school. They're I don't know if it's just his class or certain grades around his class, but they're spending the week there in Paris, and they're going to be touring some, not just the Versailles, but I think other garden-related sites. And so it's kind of like a vacation, sort of, for me, but not, because all I'm going to be doing is thinking about, okay, what are they doing now? I've told him, take lots of pictures, and to be sure, like I said, messages when, he gets in, so that we know that he made it safely and everything. But they left, he got on the train going to Antwerp, like at a little after 8, it was like 8:30 or something, like 8:20. And I know he made it to the hotel okay. So this will be his first evening in Paris. Yeah, I was up last night fretting about it. And then, of course, this morning it was a little rushed because he, like most, waits till the last minute to check all of them, does he have all his papers in order, and, getting all his bag packed and everything. He waited up until the last minute on a lot of that. So, and then one of his classmates, he was meeting them on the train. Well, they were gonna catch it a little earlier, and then they would meet up on the plane from our town. And he called or messaged this morning saying, I'm gonna take this clock, and it was like an hour earlier than we'd planned on leaving, and it's like, oh no. So we were kind of rushed this morning, and so I was in a fret about that. And Like, I like his thinking that it's better to be early than to be late, because um, once they get to Antwerp, then they had to get the plane heading, not the plane, the train heading to Paris from there. And they were supposed to be meeting up with the rest of their classmates and the instructors that are going with them. But it's just, I don't know, that kind of stuff makes me nervous. And then, of course, my husband was telling him, watch out for your wallet, and be careful of pickpocketers and things like that. I was like, well, I don't want to hear that, because that'll just make me worry more. Trying to keep this different each time. Sometimes it looks, and then I turn it and it looks like I turned it right back to the way it was. Yeah, I've had a lot of positive comments on the stream and the videos that I've been producing because of it. People seem genuinely interested in getting this kind of viewpoint on the housing. It's not a very glamorous viewpoint. It's not exciting, not like a lot of the streamers that are streaming, like genetic archives raids and things like that. But I hope it's helpful for some that want to know, like, what all goes into it, how detailed you want to be, or how little detail you can get away with. Because like all of these things that I'm adding in, it's a choice that I decide, okay, I'm going to have this or I'm not going to have that. I could, if I really wanted to, and my decor limit allowed, I could put a car at each parking spot if I wanted. Some kind of vehicle. I might duplicate a few, because there's cars that look like the one you drive, other people are driving it. I could get down to as much detail as giving them windshield wipers and license plates and things like, muffler. But for me, as long as you kind of put it in and people can at a glance tell you, oh, that's a car, then that's good enough for me. I don't have to have super detail. For those that are expressly wanting to showcase their vehicle, then yeah, they might go into a lot more detail than that. But it's been my choice that I don't want to put a car or a vehicle at every parking spot. I just wanted the golf cart. And the reason I picked golf cart was, obviously, it kind of goes with the miniature golf park theme. It might make more sense to have one like on the park itself, but since it's a mini park, there really wouldn't be any reason to do that. Now, I probably will go and add more of the little protostar workers. I may put one out here in the garden area that, show either he's watering the garden or planting a new plant or something. I may have one actually on the course. Maybe he's up on top of the tower, and he's got like their binoculars or something. I don't know. So I will probably plant a few more of those. I like putting in little scenes. I did that with an old plot with the winter theme that I did. I had some snow sledding and doing some ice fishing, and there was a couple of them camping, roasting marshmallows on a fire and everything. So here I've come around to the other end, and it looks like I'm going to have probably room for a couple more just right here. So I'm going to throw those out. And again, if you see me glance over here, I'm checking the chat room just to make sure. The likelihood of someone dropping in and chatting is slim, but I don't want to miss it if it happens. So I try to keep in the habit of looking over there. So I'm not really like looking at myself, even though I have the OBS opened and I can see that. I mostly am just verifying that, yeah, I'm alone on here. So that would be why. And of course, in the past, I had the camera on the other screen, so I was having to go back and forth. But now that I've moved it, I can kind of keep most of my focus at the one screen. Okay, so I think that's a good start for the one row of flowers. I don't think I will have enough to do a double row of these particular ones unless I go and craft some more, which I'm really not inclined to do. Mostly, partly because I don't want to have to delete a bunch just to make room for another batch of flowers. I would need to probably delete some decor to make room for it. But also, I like to, I guess you'd call it recycle. Try and use what I already have on hand rather than getting new stuff. In some respects, that might lead to having your plots look similar. But I think if you recycle, then it's easier on your pocketbook for one. Less travel time going back and forth, because inevitably you'll come up, oh, I need 2 more, and then you have to go back up to the craft table and everything, unless you happen to have a plot that has a craft table on it, which I don't. And while I know I can put a crafting station up, it's just, for me, I prefer to go the recycle route when I can. Because obviously, depending on the theme, I don't use everything in my crate all at once on every theme that I work. So chances are I've not used it too much. Now, I say that in this here, I'm using these teal ones quite predominantly like I did in my last build, but they were again used differently before. They were acting as ivy in the old one, and now they're just being regular plants. So we'll let them slide this time. These are really good for Christmas trees. These and the I'm trying to think of the name. It's one that you can get on the vendor, I think. It might be one of the bushes. I don't know why I'm talking about that. It just popped into my head because I know a lot of people like to add holiday accents to their home rather than just completely redecorating their house, especially if it's a general residence, personal, private home. They just like to add touches like you would in your real home. You just add a little extra decoration for the holidays. And the teal leaves and this one here, the tall spiral leafy bramble, those are great for holiday wreaths, like for hanging on your front door or just over the fireplace or something. They also work real well as a garland. You know, shrink them down and line them up, and they work really nice as an evergreen garland. Throw in some lights and you got it going. I'm expecting this year Carbine will provide us some extra nifty little decor that we can use for the celebration times, or like the Winter Gala and Shades Eve. I know they say they're wanting to kind of keep away from the typical what you'd see in the real world for the holiday, but there's hardly any getting around, spider webs and skeletons and things like that on Halloween. They may surprise me, but I imagine it's going to still be a lot of things, and people are going to traditionally decorate their plots in such a way. I've already seen some even off season, and I saw a few from last year that did some nice haunted house effects with like poltergeist, floating furniture, and things like that, and nice lighting effects. Um, but I imagine as the season approaches, we'll see more and more of that, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of decor Carbine gives us, the extra pieces. Because like when I did the winter theme, the toy shop, that was pretty rough because we didn't have any snow-covered items. We had like the snow lops and hardly anything that was, really that you could use as white snow. Because even the snow lops, the bottoms of them are dark, and it kind of threw it off, and they got the other little bits sticking out, the antlers and everything, and just kind of ruined a lot of things. And I managed to use some of the white veil plug, the biodome for it. That worked pretty good, having it on the plot. Nowadays, I think it would be kind of an issue for some because, from what I understand, I don't normally. I've for the last 2 or 3 builds, I've steered away from using any kind of plugs. I don't. I find them cumbersome in a lot of ways. But nowadays, I think, from the way I understand how they work now, it'll be even more so because, like the biodome ones, when I would put them on my plot, I would use them, let the repair expire so that it would break, and that meant that the portal wasn't working anymore, so they didn't have that glowy thing. And I wanted it that way, but now, as I understand it, those particular plugs don't expire; they don't break, and that would be problematic for those that don't want that big old glowing little portal showing. It might throw off the look of their plot because of it. So, I'm hoping that maybe they'll consider throwing in some toggle switches or some kind of way to disable plugs when you don't want them to actually function the way that they are supposed to. But, it's just something we'll have to see if they go with that or not. But for me, like if I was using, like with my, when I did the winter one, I had the white veil one and I had the ice pond. Now the ice pond I kept active because I was actually playing the challenge to get some of the pieces out of it. But specifically the biodome one from white veil, I disabled or allowed to go into disrepair so that the portal wasn't glowing, because I think it was yellow and very bright and kind of just stuck out, and it didn't go with the plot itself. So I wouldn't have liked it, how it's set up now. Keep adding a few in because I can see that there's a pretty big gap, so I'm just kind of filling in as I go. And I may put all of these down and then later go, ugh, I don't like that, and just yoink it all back up. But you won't know until you try it, and see how it works. I may keep adding flowers, and then I may change them out, and then switch it around. Maybe I end up going for a more specific design. I had thought originally, when I first started this, I had these walls. I had a kind of a slanted wall going into them, And I thought about putting like, I don't know if you've seen those uh, flower beds where it's like got the name of the company or something spelled out in letters, but it's with flowers. I considered doing that for the Proto Putt Park, but uh, then after a while I kind of scrapped that idea. So that might be something somebody else does for theirs someday. But I kind of threw that idea out the window pretty early on. Like, no, I don't think I'm going to go through the trouble with that. It just seemed like more work than it was. I mean, just this little bit, not even having really kind of a design in mind. This is taking a long time to put all the pieces in. Um, so I can just imagine if I was trying to spell something out with the flowers and keeping all the colors just so. And you know, I'm okay for detail, but there's a limit to my willingness to sit there and nitpick it out. Probably going to be able to squeeze one more in here once I get these kind of positioned. Yeah, just one more. Okay, so that's one row of flowers on each side. See how that looks. Not too bad, I guess. Now we want to go for something a little taller, I guess, maybe, or more wide, something wider. Maybe we'll look in the bushes to see if there's any like shrubbery that we can use. Like the bramble bush is okay, except these are a little tougher to come by. The only thing that I don't like about these sometimes is, depending on how you're standing, they might look empty. These are real nice fillers, especially if you got like lots of rocks and you got like a hole or something you want to hide as a little piece. Those are good to plant down and kind of hide up some of that stuff. These are real nice. I'll probably plant these out. I'm just going to put one here and one on the side. If I can get a hold of those readily, I may grab me a few more of them. I don't think they're from the vendor. Yeah. But that's a nice, I say generic, it's probably not generic, it's probably particular plants that you would find in a specific zone, but for what I've got in my head about what would suit a protostar plot, it seems generic enough. Like, I don't really want the desert plants and things like that. Not even too sure that I want. See, I like the aloe, thorny aloe. The issue I'm going to have is, you know, getting a hold of more than a few of these. So I've already used one of those out. Of those green ferns are nice. May go with those ferns. That just looks like something that belongs in an aquarium. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go with green ferns. I started to put that in this bowl here for the lobby, and it's just so wide. It was poking out the side of the bowl, so it's not suited to that very well. Let's see how tall that looks. How I may need quite a few to kind of flesh it out a bit. I don't know. So like maybe have a row of those coming in. Or maybe just fill up the whole thing with just the fern. Not sure. Maybe not have these trees. Big emerald leafy patch. Tucked in and around the rock. All just kind of eyeballing. Good to have kind of a general plan of what you want to do, but there's nothing set in stone. You don't have to stick with a particular setup. If you decide it looks not good, like maybe I just don't like that the rock is picking up, either I make it bigger or make it down so that it's not hitting into the rock so much. It still stays kind of a centerpiece, but you know, not overpowered or awkward against the rock again. And then we'll just kind of put this one in. Maybe a little bigger. I'm going to make sure that they're not turned exactly the same, because again, I want to give it a little variety, so it looks okay. And maybe throw one extra piece of obsidian out here on that. Doesn't have to be like right close, we'll just stick it right. And get down, maybe just one block of obsidian just kind of sitting there. You know, if you've got an Asian theme, you could do some kind of a rock garden. I know there's a fab kit of a meditation spot that has a rock garden in it. I think at one other, I don't know the name off the top of my head, but nothing's to say you couldn't make your own. The fab kits are great for those that either don't have the time or the desire to fashion their own bits. And of course, they come in with a lot of pieces, props and things that we don't have access to as custom builders. But for me, like I said, the last 3 or 4 builds I've done, or maybe it's 2 or 3, I've steered clear of the fab kits. I prefer to just, you know, do my own thing, see what I can get away with, what I can, you know, make. Like we have a water well fab kit, but that doesn't mean someone can't fashion one themselves. They may have a tough time since we're kind of limited on the types of rocks or brickish looking pieces that we have, but it doesn't mean that it's not possible. You know, if someone really wants to, they'll find a way to put one together and probably have it looking as nifty or niftier than the prefab one. Let's see, burn. Let's just bought me a little handful of those. I'm gonna plop them out here. Just spacing them a little more because I anticipate I'm going to enlarge them some. And I may, just based on the thing, I may actually want more gap between them anyway. You know, not all flower beds are compact. Some of them, you know, have space in there. And true, maybe the space is more like where they've got the wood shavings or something in between it rather than grass. But we're going to go with it like this. So this one's been upped to 165. So we'll go ahead and do that to all of these. And just kind of, I take the advanced moving mode off just to quickly move it around rather than going arrow, 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 you know, each direction. Checking to see if it's turned exactly the same as the one before it, or... And, you know, gaining a new perspective on how things look is another handy way of making sure, you know, you've got things where you want it. Thing looks almost the same any way you turn it, doesn't it? But while I may not have anything going on in the chat room, if anyone that watches these videos has any kind of questions or suggestions, they're more than welcome to drop them off in any way they can find. And I will be happy to try and answer any and all questions I can. Yeah, this thing looks like the same no matter how you turn it. It's kind of funny. Yeah, I kind of like that. Hit copy twice. Saw some good news on the forums. Stadium actually responded about the carrot not being found yet, the carrot pet, and kind of indicated that they were looking into making sure that that was still, I guess, more readily obtainable than it is now. Supposedly it's technically in the game, but the final pet that hasn't been located yet. I mean, all of the other ones have been accounted for, but not the carrot. So we'll see how that goes. As I said before, it figures that the one that I want the most is the one that ends up being the rarest. I'm just going to have to resist the urge to buy it if I see it on the AH, because if there's a chance that I can get it myself... Better than me. Whoops, that was Homer. Yes, I play checked out on my iPad. And he talks to me sometimes. What is the decor item limit? That is what Pontang says. That is currently set at 1,000 for exterior and 1,000 for interior. And by interior, that can be bunker house or your exile spacious home or whatever thing you have. So if you choose not to have any of those pre-built homes, including the bunker, then you're limited to 1,000. You can own in your crate 2,000 items. So technically, if you used every single piece of those 2,000, you have 1,000 out and 1,000 in. But like right now, let's see, I'm at 817 of 1,000, so I'm getting close to my limit. But that's a far leap to what it used to be. It used to be 300, so that's a pretty big increase in my opinion. And they gave us an increase on lights. I think it used to be 10 or 20, and now it's like 40 altogether, I believe. I hardly ever come to that limit though, because I don't use lights like a lot of people. I guess it would depend on the kind of theme I'm going for. Like the ones that do some of the city themes and towns, they use a lot of lighting for like, especially if they got like a bar or disco or something. That includes a lot of lighting, so that it can get sucked up fast. But for me, I use it pretty sparsely, so. Probably a couple more out here. I'm sure there are those that can really come up with some snazzy garden designs. And as I go, I may change it up. It's not going to be something that, well, I've put it this way and it has to stay that way. I'm very flexible in that regard, so if I decide that just doesn't work for me, I'm happy to change it. But Homer, be quiet. But I got to start somewhere, so I've got to, put it out there and then just play with it. Just kind of get a feel for how it looks. That was kind of how I built the golf cart. What I started with, the very first piece I laid down was the rug. I put it on the ground and I said, okay, this is about the size I want my vehicle. And I already knew that I wanted the rug as the roof. But that was the first piece I put down. I didn't start with the tires, I started with the rug. And I had it down and I said, okay, this is about the size I want. So then I put in the tires. And for the longest, all I had was tires and a rug sitting here. I had that for like half a day until I thought, well, okay, what am I going to use? So I thought, well, I'll start with the seating because that'll give me a better idea of, positions of like the side pieces and stuff. So I thought, well, I'm going to go with the sofas. And then I had to decide, okay, is it going to be a double-seater? Is it going to be both of them facing the same direction or one back to back? And then I played around with different front ends. I wanted it a certain way, and then this piece here, I don't know if you can see it very well, this retaining edge, it's kind of oddly shaped. It's not equal on both sides. So when I first put it in, I had it lower and flat, but on this side, it didn't poke through the tire. The tire looked nice and it fit okay. But then when you go over on this side, it's poking out. It's longer. See, it's hard to tell, but it's shaped different. So that kind of messed up using it as a front piece. So I just raised it up and tilted it a bit and kind of said, well, it's kind of like a pimped up little go-kart kind of thing, golf cart. And I kept it as basic as I could. But yeah, when I started out, it was just the rug. That's what I started with, not the tires, which I think most people would start with the tires. I don't know why I would think that, but I imagine that's how a lot of vehicles starts, with the tires. Or with the hood, not the top necessarily. Okay, so probably one more fern. We can squeeze one more in here, not germ, fern. But with the garden, I'll start a bit down in here, and then I'll probably step away from it, do something else, and then come have another look and see if I like it or not. It may just be too kitty looking for me, you know, that I'm not quite sure that's gonna work for me. I'll have to give it some heavy thought. But for now, that's how I'm gonna to set it up. And then as I play with it, I'll go back in and tweak it and turn it, and you know, maybe tomorrow we'll come back and I've completely cleared it all. You know, who knows what I might end up doing. So yeah, kind of like it, but not quite sure. I don't want it to feel empty, but I don't want to have to fill in every little crevice with flowers. Because again, I'm getting close to the limit. I'm at 820 now, so, and I still have, you know, a few little details that I'd like to incorporate elsewhere, like the proto-star guides and things like that. So I really need to work on how I'm going to do that. Maybe I just leave it with the ring of flowers and the open green and the plant. I don't know. Over here, we're going to try something different. Rather than going with the fern, we're going to see called planter, blue pod. I think that's. And as I've mentioned before, do I build homes for a fee? As it is, no one's ever asked me to build a home, so I haven't given that much thought. I know there are others that do, and they have like a whole table of, like, you know, if you want just one item, if you want indoors only, if you want outdoors only. To be honest, I wouldn't know what to charge somebody. I did do a partial build for a couple of guildmates, but I did that free of charge. I made everything, and because, you know, it's a guildmate, so I think that falls under a different category. But if someone asked me what I wouldn't know what to tell them. Mostly, I think I would be, you know, I could go through and decide, okay, well, I use these materials. This is what it cost me to craft them. So there's that cost, and then there's my time cost. But, you know, what someone says, well, you know, that's worth 5 plat, to someone else, they may think, well, that's worth 10, and others may go, well, that's barely worth 1. It's an objective kind of thing, or subjective, one of the two, where, you know, maybe the person doesn't think I did a good job, or they were picturing something different in their head, and what I come up with doesn't quite match. Do I still charge them for that? You know, if they're not happy with it, that's kind of a tricky area. I'm not sure if I would even want to get into building for money kind of thing. I think that could be kind of a messy deal if it went bad. Let's see, planter. As well, if you're working for someone else, then you're kind of under pressure as far as like how much time you can spend on it. And then again, there's so many things that could go into, you know, maybe they don't want to spend renown. Maybe they don't have renown to spend. Are you willing to spend your own renown if you're building it for someone? How would they compensate you for that? How do you say, well, it costs, you know, if I spend 25,000 renown, how do you equate that to a plat amount? I'm sure there's somebody that's, you know, taken that into account and figured it out for themselves, what they feel it's worth. But like I said, I haven't given it any thought, so I couldn't tell you where that would go if I ended up doing that. personally, I don't think I'm that good of a builder as far as building for someone else. It's a lot of pressure. Like I said, I've done that for a couple of guildies. One was for a guild event. I built a barbecue area on their plot. Um, it was just a temporary thing. So, and we happened to have access to the decking at that time, so I just took advantage of that and used it there. And it just so happens that I used the decking again for for my other guildmate. He had a bit more specific kind of idea of what he wanted. Uh, he still gave me a lot of freedom, but I felt funny asking him, well, can you buy this? Or can you? So most of the things that I use, well, all of it, in fact, I bought myself. I just used up my own renown, crafted whatever I needed, sent it to him and said, can you please put this in the crate so I can use it? And, didn't think twice about it. Because, it's, like I said, it's poor friend. So, even in real life, I'm not one, I do drawings and stuff, and I would just feel really weird trying to put a price on that to tell someone, well, I think this is worth $100, or 50 euros, they might look at me and just, think I'm insane in my prices. And I would, of course, hate to undercut myself. So, like I said, it's a tricky thing. I just wouldn't know how to even start on that. Anyway, I'm looking at how the little pod planter looks. If I was to put a few in, maybe in the back here. I think for a smaller garden area, these would be ideal. I've used them as trim around houses before. But for this, I don't think it's going to be a really good thing to work with. So I'm going to leave that one as it is for now and just kind of think on it. I really don't know which one I prefer. I'm leaning towards the more empty one. I'm not exactly sure why. Now, I could just do away with the whole thing altogether. I just felt like it was so blank and white out here that it needed something. And some kind of a flower bed or garden thing seemed appropriate, but I would love if the protostar guys could be enlarged, maybe like double what they are at full size. Because I would probably prefer like having like giant protostar statues on either side. And so that's another thing I still need to look into is some kind of spotlight for here. I actually have a light inside, and I keep forgetting to look when it turns dark, whether or not that's actually showing up or not, like an underlight kind of like creepy effect, I think. But and I'm still not sure about the road. I may get rid of the road and just leave I'll leave the parking lot. I'm definitely happy with that. I just may not have no need for the. It looks like a railroad track almost, which I don't really want it to look like a railroad track, but we'll have to see. So, for now, we're going to see about where we might could put a little protostar guy out here. I don't want him to be like on the green anywhere, because if people do want to come and RP that they're playing a game of golf, I don't want him to disrupt it. So I really think he probably would be best either up at the top of the tower doing something. I could have one as a window cleaner, maybe. I already have one stationed at the gift shop, and there's 2 at the food center. And of course, there's 2 manning the ticket booths. What to do, what to do. I think I will try him at the top of the tower. If I can get away with putting him up there without it, again, being a cumbersome, having him in the way of people that come up to the top of the tower to have a look. I don't want him in the way. So what I could do is maybe add a little type of a tower thing that only he has access to. But then that might block, so, always thinking, well, maybe I just have him at the end here, having a look. I thought about making like some little telescope things like you see at the top of the Empire State Building, so that like you could like pretend you're zooming in on the guest over there. But I wouldn't know how to put one of those together to make it look like a telescope thing. I'm sure there's been some that's put some together. In fact, there was an observatory being shown in the housing forum with, like, you could see the stars, and it looked like they had some kind of like a little telescope in the center of the room, but it's not a close-up, so you can't really tell too clearly. So maybe protostar guy up here. But now I have to check what the size of these little guys are, because I like to keep it the same. And I forget about where they are in relation to me, so how big are you? 1.9. Okay. It's probably not like the actual height it is of the protostar guys NPCs out in the game, but and of course these are plushies, so they look a little weird. They got like huge heads, much bigger in proportion to the rest of them than the actual NPCs. But do I have any more of those guys left? Oh, that's bigger. There we go. We got 4 more to go. Not that I have to use all 4, but I like putting these little guys out. Oops. Let's see if he sees over the railing here. He's so short. Yeah, I'd have to give him like a little stool or something to stand on. But I have to put him at the end here because I still want people to be able to walk up if they want. So I can't put him anywhere along here because it just seems weird. Technically, I could probably put like some kind of a balcony, but then that would be awkward because the railing is there, and then they have to hop over the railing just to get the thing. It's like, man, keep it simple. So, okay, he's up high enough to look over the railing. What could I use as a telescope? Let's see, would that be tools and hardware, weapons, armor? Too short. I think a bra could work. Probably a tank or something. Ways and meat? No. Tools and hardware. Got a lot of junk. A lot of junk I don't want to give up if I don't have to. So I hoard it all. And I got a lot of junk in my bank that I don't have in here even. That was being... Well, what is it, under electronics maybe? It don't sound right. Maybe it's under containers for tanks. You'd think I'd know this now as much as I spend my time in here, but easy to forget. Got a really bad memory. Like a disco here. Let's see, maybe containers. Containers. Nope, 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 nope. No, no. That one's wiggling too much. One of those things again, you'll know it when you see it. Oh, the skinny waisted barrel ain't too bad. Let me see. Put a couple of those. That's what 3. I like odd numbers. Let's see. Check out the containers on the housing vendor. So I'm sure there's lots of stuff on the housing vendor that could work that I just don't have. See, like the tank. I know the vent gas tank would probably work pretty good too. Yeah, see, it's kind of like nice and long. See, instead of going with the one item, I'm going to try and put 3 together and make it a little more complicated for myself. That's the joy of being a custom builder, is constantly doing more than you probably need to, just for the fun of it. Let's see. I guess I need some kind of a stand. I liked the Pell thing, but I think it's going to be too fat. Looking tools and hardware here. I use the hammer for a lot of things. I don't know. I hate to keep using it, but it's so handy. I think I already have one. I'll put a couple out. This may turn into a really bad idea. We're gonna try it anyway, just to break the monotony of working with the plants. We're gonna back him up a little bit. And first, we're gonna see how small these can go. Oh yeah, that works pretty good. They look like little batteries. Let's see. I want that to be just a little bit bigger than the other one, but not maybe that. 3. And that was bad. I don't know if you see what I'm going with that. Off topic, but I find your stream very something. As Mr. Friend? Not sure what that means. I hope that's a compliment. I'm not quite Maybe I'm missing part of that. Mr. Friendly. Well, I'm certainly not going to be one of those that um, uh, I tend to curse a lot, but I try to keep well, and I don't think I've slipped up so far on the stream. Um, knock on wood. But I know a lot of streamers, not just for WildStar, but for all games that I've seen their streams, they're very uh, rowdy, I guess is a good way to say it. And maybe they're that way naturally, but I think a lot of it is for show in an attempt to get viewers. And they like to be controversial sometimes or loud and uh, I don't know how else to say it, but for me, that's not what this stream is. It's more just I hope to provide a little insight to others that are looking into getting into building like this, doing their own custom builds. Because I think a lot of people find it intimidating to come in and try and put something together. And I want them to see that even for someone as veteran as myself, I won't say expert, because I'm by far not one of those. I just have the opportunity to spend a lot of time playing around with it, so I get familiar with a lot of the terms and can kind of think, oh, well, that would look good this, or I could use that this way. And if someone goes, you know, do you have any idea what I could use for a refrigerator, then I could probably name a few items off the top of my head that they could probably start off with. It doesn't necessarily mean they have to use those, but that'll give them, you know, a better idea. But a lot of people, even ones that have been around since beta, still seem to be intimidated by the tools, like the transformation tools, and how awkward they can be at times. And okay. Well, thank you. Fontaine says my voice is like an ASMR, an autonomous sensory meridian response, relaxing sound or something. My husband says I put him to sleep when I talk, so I don't know. I guess it's an in between, a good and bad. But I want them to see that even someone that's been working with this stuff for months and months can still come across things that don't quite work the way I want, and how I deal with adapting or changing it up or surpassing whatever problem I might come across. Like with the popcorn machine that I was determined to build. I had originally thought I would use one item for the popcorn and ended up using something totally different. It works just as well. Now that I look at it and think about it more, it's probably the best option because I ended up using one piece for the popcorn rather than, 50 pieces to try and simulate popcorn. But it's just little things like that that people can see and go, okay, well, maybe I can get into this. And, if I can get one person more involved in their housing, then, my work here is done. But it's another way to get the word out about the game. People are always complaining about our population is too low and there's not enough people coming in. It's one thing to say, hey, we have a problem. It's something else to try and do something about it. And this is my way of trying to help. If I can stream for a few hours each day through the week, then maybe someone will come across it and say, hey, I've not seen this game before. It looks pretty nifty. Or they have seen it, but they've been away for a while, and now they can see, well, there's been a lot of changes done, and, make them a little interested. Of course, my stream in particular is geared more to the housing fan club, but I know there's quite a few of us out there, and there's already plenty of streams showing gameplay, and nobody needs to see how lousy of a stalker I am, so I try to avoid that when I can. Um, but yeah, I just want to, I don't want to say, well, I did all I could, and really I didn't. I'm gonna see, where do I want him to aim this? Maybe he's spying on some of the players or the golfers. He's a perverted protostar dude. What? Turn that. I don't want to turn it that way. Just kind of trying to see if I can line it up with one of his eyeballs. But I appreciate the compliment. I hope, I know I'm not like, I'm all new to this, so if you post me, Mr. Yeah, no, Mr. Darcy's mine. he's found his home. I was very lucky to win that, and I believe I got him for the pumpkin carving contest from last year. So he's pretty much a part of the family now. If anyone wonders where the name comes from, it's I asked my guildmates to name him, asked them to provide suggestions, and then I picked the one that I thought most suited it. Let's see, do I want his eyeball right up against it, or just kind of close? That'll work, I think. So there's my makeshift telescope thing. Observing something in that direction. Maybe it's the plot next door, or maybe it's just the people that are playing down here. Now, do I need both hammers? Just one hammer? We're gonna... I wish we could change the color. I don't know. Can't even see where the arrow is. I just kind of guess where it should be, and half the time I'm right, and the other half I'm sitting there fiddling with it till I get it right. But if you could change the colors when it's like blue on blue, it's just really hard to see. You see, even here, the red one disappears into the pink clouds. Like, where? Like, way off. Let's see. Make it straight, I guess. Use a level. Got a level. I think it's, yeah, there. So now I'm thinking, well, does that look weird? And I'm saying to myself, no, that's genius. Yeah, one of the suggestions I'd put in that if nothing else, if they could mix them up so that it's not always Grannock houses. I wouldn't mind seeing a Oran home, even if it's a fake plot. I would like to see variety, but it's always the rock house. I don't know why they picked that, and just kept it all the rock one. I'm sure it's because it's easier to do that, but a lot of people argue that once they bring in the guild housing, which, knock on wood again, is supposedly coming sometime, that's when we'll get linked housing of some sort. I imagine it'd be like you have the main guild plot, and then all of the members are somehow either you can teleport individually to them or they're actually physically linked, and there's like little bridges or something, and then you would actually see those neighbors. But I don't know how that would work in conjunction with just neighbors of that aren't in your guild. If those would be linked too at some point. I think most people talk about the limits on the decor, but that's why we have such a low number at the moment because of the called the I don't know the technical term. Um, when the computer's having to support all of the graphics that is in it, all of the movement, all of the the little bits that go into creating it. If they just gave us unlimited, it would probably overload some people's computers to not be able to handle it, and you would probably get a lot of people that would crash when they would try to hop onto a particular person's plot. And I think they're worried that the same thing might happen with like linked plots. How that all that inner workings runs, I'm not sure, so I couldn't say. Well, surely they can do that. It would be nice if they could. We can only hope that they come up with something really snazzy, because according to the little teaser that they gave, they're bringing in some new systems for housing. What that actually means, I have no idea, but one can dream that it includes linked housing of some sort, even if it's just to do with your guild. That would be a step in a positive direction, I think. But yeah, it's yeah. See, you can't see him from down here, so he would be a surprise. Only people that venture up to the top would even notice or get to see. I jumped down and I meant to take one last look at how he was looking. I'd worried about covering up the hollow crypt because I was afraid, someone's going to leap to their death here. But I'm hoping it's not too bad. I figure they pretty much death wish anyway if they're going to leap off of here when they're low health. But yeah, I think that's okay. He's like, you kind of get the general idea that that's a telescope. I'm not going to get super fancy on it, because again, I'm looking at that magic number here. I want to make sure I still have a little leg room for if I come across some nice items that might work for, maybe I come across another Elden item that I just have to throw out in this little Elden area, or I come across some new block plushies or something that I want to add to it. I mean, even at the picnic tables out here, maybe I want to put some food or something on one of the tables or on a few. I want the freedom to be able to not think, well, now I got to get rid of something because I'm already at the item limit cap, and maybe I decide to add a little extra on the food area here. Or I devise another way. Maybe, they add some decor that actually is a napkin holder. Then I want to change out these and put in the napkin holders. They give us some new kinds of papers instead of having to use the same ones over and over. Or maybe I decide, okay, I have to have the door handles. I probably won't, but I like leaving the room to change it up if I want. Still not sure about that. Probably going to change it because it's too orange-y for this. I don't want it orange-y. Well, thank you for joining. Okay, so been away from it a little bit. I'm going to take another look. The ferns are nice, but I think they're just too open. I think that's what's bothering me. If I did it right, it would have to probably be like double what they are to make them feel fuller, I guess. I'm going to remove these. I will probably keep them, but I'm just going to remove them. I mean, I'll keep them in my crate for if I decide. Uh, Thanks, Minnie. Um, I just don't like the way they look. I'm gonna take those out. I may try something else later, but for now, I think I prefer it open. Because I don't know why, but the Protostar, when I do a Protostar theme, uh, I I like it being kind of orderly, but not. I don't know if that makes sense, but I picture them being kind of like only use what you have to, you know, because they're all about the money and saving the money and making the money, and so they're not going to go too frivolous about adding in lots of extra stuff if they don't have, if they could get away with just leaving it green. I think I'm going to leave them like that for now. And so pretty soon, probably not today, but pretty soon I'm going to get started on the bunker house. I will show you what I've been tossing around for a little bit, but I'm not guaranteed that I'm going to stick with that idea. I may end up just throwing it all out the window, because let me just say, I am horrible at making some, like, I don't do spaceships. I did the golf cart, but that's probably about as mechanical as I can get, and it doesn't even look all that mechanical. I just don't have the imagination for machinery. What I'm wanting to do is I want to build a subway, and that's my subway there. I don't know if it looks like it, but it kind of looks like a rocket, sort of. But the idea is the black is the tunnel. In fact, I have another one of these. I think it's a panel, maintenance panel or something. Okay, maybe I haven't put it in yet, but yeah, it's a platform. It's probably still in the bank. But I've got another one, and I'm going to put it up on the other side, and then have this filled in, and it's going to be like it's just come in, like docked, and then have the windows, and then you get in through here, and then you have your seats and everything, and it'd be like a underground tube bus ride thingy. Where it goes, I don't know. Where it comes from, you know, who cares? But this is going to be like a station. And ideally, I wanted you to have to go down to get to the subway, to the station itself. Of course, the way the bunker house works is when you come in through your little bunker house door, you're already on the bottom. You don't come in up here at the upper level. So I'm tossing around the idea of maybe blocking off the bottom and forcing you to go back up to the upper level, so that you're up here, and when you come in, there's like a whole wall of window up top, and that's where you see the station below. And then have, you know, I don't know, a small diner or something up top. And then as you come down, this is where, you know, you get your little tickets for the subway. And then there's, you know, some rows of seats for those waiting on the subway to arrive. And then, you know, having the little, the track and everything built in. That's what's playing in my head. If I'm actually going to be able to pull that off effectively is a whole nother can of worms. But as you can see, I've been down here a little bit, playing around with the idea, working with the pieces that I think can work. You know, like this already has glass in it. This was going to be like, you know, where the conductor guy or the driver is. and checking out sizing of the doors to see, like, I'm gonna have to figure out, okay, do I have like stairs leading up to that, or is it ramp, or what, and how am I going to fashion the track, um, and I can't even fathom how I would try to simulate like a tunnel scene to make it look like there's some depth there. Um, so it'd probably be more like, maybe just kind of zaps through it as like a wormhole kind of thing. You enter it and it just kind of disappears, and it's just a solid thing. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But that's a sneak peek for my viewers of my tentative plan for the bunker house. And of course, it'll be, Protostar run. So it's I have proto dudes all down in here too. But that's the idea I've been tossing around. I kind of wanted to. I didn't want to do the typical, hidden nightclub or bar. I've done a bar before, and I don't want to do another bar. Just wanted to do something different. Just like with the golf course, I wanted to do something different that I hadn't seen anybody do before. That doesn't mean there isn't one out there. There probably is. I just haven't seen it. I've not seen any videos or screenshots or heard anybody talking about one. So hopefully, it's fairly original. And we'll just kind of go with that. But I think that's going to be all for today. While I appreciate everyone stopping in, I think that's the most people I've had come in on an actual live stream so far. So maybe that's a record for me, having two come in. But one, my throat is really dry. I keep chugging on the water, but doesn't seem to be going away. I think part of it is the weather. It's been really rainy here, very windy. That, and my husband did the lawn just before the rain came, so all of that grass stuff in the air has kind of got me choked up. But I will be back again tomorrow. I cannot say when through the week, unless it's a Wednesday, which I can guarantee I will be on at 1 p.m. CET on Wednesdays always, unless something falls from the sky and lands on me. The other days, it's all hit and miss. So if you want to know when I'm on, all I can say is follow my channel. You'll get a notification when I'm online. That'll be the easiest way, because I typically don't tweet when I'm on. I'm still kind of new to Twitter, and it feels awkward to do that every time I get on there. So thank you too, Minnie. But it's while I want to stream regularly, I can't promise what times it'll be. Today it was kind of later in the day than usual, and tomorrow it may be early in the morning. It just depends. But I thank everyone for joining me, and I appreciate those that even if you don't come to the live show, you're watching these via YouTube or something. I appreciate it, and I hope it helps. I hope it gives people some inspiration. Even if you don't necessarily like whatever I'm making here, maybe it'll give you some ideas for your own home. And I'm happy to hear about anything that you guys make, especially if it's, maybe you came to the idea through watching some of my videos. I would love to hear how that turns out, and encourage you, other builders, to post in the housing forums, show your work. Don't be afraid to. A lot of people get a little nervous about doing that because they're afraid, people will think it's silly looking, but really, there's no need for that. All of it is great stuff. People can come up with the niftiest things and are super modest about it, and I wish more people shared, because it would just show the diversity that is available and able to be created. That even if 50 people make a car out of the same items, I'm pretty confident every one of them would be different from the other. There wouldn't be any two identical pieces because there's just too much flexibility in how you can put things together, and that's one of the great things about WildStar Housing. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. Hope to see you next time. Until then, have a good day and happy housing.